to be easy. It's going to be a struggle. But what I do think, in kind of my time of praying and really about today, and if I haven't met you, my name is Jeremy. I serve as one of the executive pastors here over Outreach and Missions, and Pastor Wayne and Ginger are out of town, and so I'm filling in for them today. But what I do know about this fast right now is that this more than likely will be one of the most powerful things that you do in 2025. And the reason why I believe that is because our whole big push and what Pastor talks about all the time is that for us, we live a life of first fruits. And what that means is forgiving. You know, we believe that the Bible tells us that the first belongs to God. That's why we give the first 10% to the Lord. Not the last, not the leftovers, the first 10. When it comes to our time, we give the best to God. And the best for us right now is the first of the year. So it's giving these 21 days to God so that if I give him 3 weeks, that I'm living 49 weeks that are blessed. And it's understanding the principle. And some of you may not be fasting right now. You may be with us for the first time today and you didn't know anything about the fast. We do this every single year. And I want to encourage you, and I hope that over the next 30 minutes or so that I can encourage you to be a part of this with us. We had a powerful service in the 9 o'clock. And so I'm going to take just a minute. I'm going to help for you to be able to understand the purpose behind doing what we do, even when it doesn't seem to make sense, okay? So I'm going to ask a few questions, and look, you can slip your hand up because these are going to be relevant to those of you that are fasting right now. How many of you are fasting right now or praying for a miracle that you need to happen in your life right now? I mean, like, this is a right now thing. You need God to show up right now, all right? How many of you are fasting and praying for a physical healing for you or for a family member? That's part of your fast right now. How many of you are fasting and praying for someone close to you to give their life to God? Like, you need God to step in. So there are several things that you may be fasting and praying for, believing for God to do right now in your life. It doesn't have to be one of the three that I just talked about. There could be several things. But my next statement is going to catch some of you off guard, and I want you to take off your super spiritual glasses for just a moment. I don't want anybody throwing rocks at me, because I tend to be a tad bit controversial at times. How do you spend time fasting and praying when you don't need anything? Oh, well, Jeremy, you're just supposed to do it. Look, I know that you're just supposed to do it. I know, but what happens when you find yourself at a place in life, and some of you are in that place right now, where life is good? There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we look at that and we act like it's a bad thing. Doesn't everybody just want your life to be good right now? Well, some of you are in that season in your life, and for you to look at it and go, well, I don't really need God to heal my body. I'm not sick. Nobody in my family's sick. I'm not really asking God to do anything real big in my life right now. Yeah, there's some things I guess I need, but I'm at a pretty good place in my life. All my bills are paid. There's some extra money in the bank right now. I'm not struggling to financially do anything. And how do I fast and pray? What's my motivation? What's my motivation to do this? To make me want to do it. How do I do that when I don't really need? Look, I'm not saying that you don't need God. I'm just saying at times we look at the fasting and the praying moments in our life, and we use those as if I'm in just a desperation mode. Oh, I got to pray. I got to fast right now. And look, God honors those moments. I'm not saying that He doesn't. But what I am saying is that maybe sometimes if we spend a little more time fasting and praying when we weren't in desperation mode, we wouldn't get in desperation mode so much. It's living a lifestyle of prayer and fasting. I'm going to read this passage to you in Matthew chapter 6 that gives us insight into the way heaven intended for us to operate through the act of fasting and through prayer, okay? Now, the first couple of verses is relevant, but it's about how we're supposed to manage our physical appearance when it comes to it. It says, whenever you fast. Now look, right there I want to stop you for just a minute. Jesus gave 3 commandments while he was here on earth. He said, when you pray, when you give, and when you fast, not if. Not if you decide to fast, when you fast. If you're a Christian, you're supposed to. You're supposed to pray. He said, when you pray, not if you decide to pray one day, when you pray. He also said, when you give, not if you decide to give. But when you give, when you pray, and when you fast, he said, don't put on a gloomy face. Don't look sad like the hypocrites do, for they neglect their appearance so that they will be noticed by men when they are fasting. They make themselves look, like, oh God, I want people to be able to see it. I'm struggling right now. I'm so hungry. I know you're hungry. If you're doing it right, you are. He said, but don't let people see it though. This is why. He said, I say to you that they already have their reward in full. You wanted people to notice that you were fasting, and so you walk around and talk about how much you're fasting and what a struggle it is, and people clap for you. Oh, that's such a great thing. He said, those hand claps, that's your reward. Good job for fasting. He said, but you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face so that your fasting will not be noticed by men, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Listen to this. We just kind of end this verse and we think that it's stepping over into a totally different story, but that's not what's happening right here. Because the next few verses say this: don't store up for yourself treasures on earth, because moth and rust destroy them, and thieves break in and they steal them. But store up for yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in or steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And it's the principle of understanding heaven's system for us when it comes to a deposit and withdrawal. I like to compare it to, and I'm going to talk about this in just a minute. In fact, guys, go ahead and bring out my props for me. It's explaining heaven's principle of deposit and withdrawal. This jar here. This jar is from my house. We've had this jar for 10 years. And what happens is anybody walks in with change, anything, I'll tell you what really happens. I get abused. Because if I leave anything in my pockets and it goes into that washing machine, she automatically believes that it's hers, that she owns it. So it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not worried about it if a quarter falls out of my pocket. Yeah, sure, take it. But it doesn't matter. If I accidentally left a 20 in my pocket, that 20 doesn't exist anymore. Not in my world. And I don't even know if it makes it into the jar. Who knows? I know she makes a lot of trips to Ulta. Amazon does show up fairly frequently to my house. But loose change and loose bills, they end up making their way into this jar. And come on out, guys. Come on. Come on. Come on. Act like you're excited to be out here. Come on. So these are the people that spend way too much time inside of my house. This is my youngest daughter, Lexi. Y'all pray for me. She got her driver's license about almost 2 months ago, and it killed me. This is my oldest daughter, Bailey. Whoa. This is a random guy, okay? They are just talking. They're friends. That's it. And then this is Lexi's best friend that also lives across the street from us. Well, at any given time, all of these bodies are in my house at the same time. And we get approached, and it's, hey, can I run up to the store real quick and get a whatever? And Jana or myself at times will go, yeah, just go get something out of the jar. And they know where the jar is. And they walk in and they grab, go ahead. Be careful though. Go ahead. Why are you going first? You don't live. You were way too comfortable with that. Y'all, he eats dinner at my house like 5 nights a week. And he ate the most food I've ever seen on one plate last night that was embarrassing. And that's the reason why there's not more money in this jar. And she'll say, can me and E.G. run up to the store and get a whatever? And I'm like, yeah, just go grab money out of the jar. And then Bailey will come in and she'll go, hey, I need to do something. And she'll grab, be careful. Don't grab. Oh, look at that. She grabbed $2. I love you. You. And look, I think this is what's so incredible about it. Jax and E.G., even though they're not my children, they get treated like my children. And so if she walked into my house and said, she calls me Mr. Jeremy, which I hate. I hate her saying Mr. Jeremy. I already know I'm old. I don't need to be reminded. If she came in and said, Mr. Jeremy, I don't, my mom and dad are home. Can I need to go do this, and I would just go, yeah, grab. And Jax come in and go, hey, I need to go grab. You're not getting that one. I don't know how this works. They're withdrawing from something that they didn't deposit into. Because I'm allowing them access to something that they didn't invest into. They do at times, I guess, there might be something dropped into it. It's not going to be anything worth a whole lot because they know how it works. But this is the way heaven works for us. It's the deposit and the withdrawal system. We deposit through moments in our life. Just deposit back. Come on. Yeah. Let's deposit. Let's make deposits. Pockets? We good? We make deposits into heaven. And you don't have to completely agree with me exactly the way I'm wording it, but I'm trying to make it make sense so you can see what you're missing out on if this is not a part of your life. You guys can go ahead. That when you take these moments in your life and you spend the time fasting or you spend the time praying or you give, that you're depositing into a system, because he just told us Don't store up stuff on earth, because this is what I know about our stuff on earth. The clothes that you spend so much money on, one of these days, you're going to throw them away. It may be 10 years from now, but you're going to throw them away. That car that you love so much right now, one of these days, they're going to put it into a big compactor, they're going to turn it into a cube of metal, and they're going to throw it in the back of a truck, and they're going to take it somewhere, and they're going to sell it for scrap. The house that you spent so much money on, one of these days, somebody's going to run a bulldozer through it and start over. And Jesus knew. He knew that our tendencies were going to be to try to store up things here, because there's such easy access to it while it's right here on earth. I can just grab and do and grab and do and grab and do. And he said, but I don't want you to do it like that. And this is the reason why. Because when I make deposits into heaven, through my time of prayer, through my time of fasting, through my giving that God has required of me to do, when I make these deposits, God is not one that just simply takes what I give and goes, one of these days I'll give it back. God has an interest system. Because there's not a time in the Bible where God does not multiply. He said, I will supply all of your needs. What needs did he say he would supply? About 11 people agree with me right now. What needs does he supply? All of your needs. Let me tell you what that means. When sickness comes in, God said, I can heal it. When family issues happen, God says, I can fix it. When the finances aren't working out, God said, I can handle it. I can supply all of your needs, but not according to what I have. See, I invested into heaven through my prayer, through my fasting, through my giving. I have a bank account in heaven that God stores up in. But God does not just take what I store up, what I give, and let it sit there. God applies the interest of heaven to it. And so when I'm depositing dollars in prayers, there's going to be a time. I'm not praying, I'm not speaking doom and gloom over anybody's life right now. I'm not saying that this is going to happen to you, but this is the reality of the world that we live in. You may not be going through anything right now, but you will. You're going to deal with something at some point. There's no way around that. I would like to think that as I'm doing what God has called me to do, and I am depositing into heaven, when I'm depositing dollars, God knows one of these days, Jeremy, you're going to need me in a way that you never imagined. One of these days, hell is going to break loose in your life. Oh, Jeremy, I just don't believe that. I don't agree with that. You don't have to. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to die. Somebody's going to get sick. Somebody's going to get in a car wreck. Your house is going to almost catch on fire. One of these days, those things are going to happen. You can't stop them. But I believe that the way God operates in heaven for us is that when we're depositing dollars, one of these days I'm going to reach in and I'm going to pull out 100 when I was only given once. Because God goes, look, I know what you're storing up right now, but I know how heaven works. That's why the enemy's fighting so many of us right now on this fast. I had a conversation a few days ago with Pastor Kyle. I'm going to be extremely transparent right now. I walked up to Pastor Kyle. We were standing in that sound booth right there. Tuesday, I believe is when it was. Tuesday, whatever day it was. I walked up to him and I said, Kyle, I said, what do you do? Look, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been pastoring for a long time. I think we're 23, 4, 5 years in, whatever it is. We've been here 13 years. We've been doing this January fasting for a long time. It's a part. It's just what we do. But the problem is it just became a part. It just became what we do. And I'm talking to Kyle up there, and I said, Kyle, what do you do when the fasting just becomes something that you do? Because the reality is, for me right now, at this place in my life, I'm not at a place where I need God to show up and fix anything. I'm not struggling through life right now. I might be in a week. I might be tomorrow, but right in that moment, right then, I wasn't. So the motivation for the fast is not there as much as it should be or it could be, because you find your place in life. And this is what Kyle said to me, and I think this is so powerful for some of you right now that aren't finding the motivation to do it because you're at a good place in your life. He said, Jeremy, the reason why is when you live the principles throughout the year, this becomes normal. So your life is blessed. But when you take the time, the best time to fast and to trust and believe and to pray and to give is when everything is great. Because I'm creating an account for something that I don't even know that I need yet. Don't take for granted the moment that you're in right now and just think, well, I don't need anything right now. No, that's the time when you need to invest because it's easy to do. I'm not struggling through life right now. I'm not fighting for life right now. The people in my family are healthy right now. Nothing is going wrong right now. Look, I know there are things that God can do. I know there are things that I can believe for, but I don't have the big list right now. I don't have the major thing. But I'm storing up. I'm investing while it's easy to invest. The enemy wants you to believe, don't do that stuff. Don't worry about that stuff. You don't need it right now. But God's saying, if you'll just do it now, there's going to be a time when you're going to need to withdraw. What are you going to withdraw from if you're not investing now? God gave me two things to help you to be able to understand, to help me to be able to understand. Look, if you're brand new in here right now and you have no idea, or maybe, you know what, you may not be a Christian, you may not be saved, there's so many different aspects of people's lives in here right now, collectively together, that this is going to touch you in some way right now. We've created this thing where we believe if we just don't do it big, we shouldn't do it at all. And God told me to tell you and to tell me that it's not about how big the thing is, it's about making sure that you do the small things. So when it comes to the fasting, well, there's no way I can fast for 21 days. Okay, that's fine. Fast a meal tomorrow. Take one meal tomorrow. Well, Jeremy, there's no way that I can spend an hour in prayer. Nobody asked you to spend an hour in prayer. Spend 5 minutes. Well, Jeremy, there's no way that I can give money like you're talking about. That's fine, but give something. Oh, here we go. It's about money. It's about money. It's always talking about money. Listen, if talking about money bothers you in that way, it's your heart problem, not God's. Because let me tell you what I know. What I have right now didn't happen because of me. And we've got to get it out of our brain, oh, I can just go make more money. No, through me, I'm able to do the things that I do. Let me tell you what God did this. Just right before service started, I was standing right there in front of the seat. This guy here, I'm not going to say his name, walks up to me and he goes, hey, I need to talk to you for just a second. God blessed me over the last month or so. And I was trying to figure out how I wanted to do it, what I wanted to do. This is not a part of my message. You can come on out, guys. This is not a part of my message right now. This just happened, and I want to show you what it looks like to be an investor into God's kingdom. He walked up to me and he said, listen, I've got this box right here. God's blessed me over the past month or so. He said, I want to give this to you. God told me to come and hand you $500 for you to give to somebody else because somebody else needs this, but I don't know who it is. And I said, I will give it to the person that needs it. Let me tell you what the guy just did. He's storing up treasures in heaven. I want a bigger house than give some money away. I want God to do this, then bless somebody else. Well, as soon as God blesses me, He's not going to do it with that attitude. Well, if I just had more of this, if I just had more of that, do you know what more of something makes you? More of whatever you already were. Well, God, if God would just give me more money, you're still not going to give. Well, if God would just do this, God's going, if you could just understand the principle of what I'm saying right now. I'm investing into something. I had a moment, I think I've shared this a couple of times over the last 12, 13 years here. I've had a few moments in my life, I'm talking about major moments. I mean, like, I didn't know how I was going to get through it. I'm talking about moments where I was contemplating life. But I'd also, in my life, had spent times where I was investing into my future, into the kingdom of heaven, and didn't realize what I had stored up. And God showed up in moments where I didn't know what to do. And He let me withdraw from an account that He had been taking care of for me. And God wants me to let you know that when you spend the time with Him and the enemy comes in like, it didn't say if the enemy comes in like a flood, when the enemy comes in like a flood. When all of hell breaks loose, God goes, get some of your investment. When the world comes at you and He goes, I don't know how I'm going to deal with the cancer. I don't know how I'm going to deal with the sickness. I don't know how I'm going to deal with not having enough money to pay the bills. God goes, I got you. Because you've been investing. You've been taking the time. You've spent the moments in prayer. You trusted me when nobody else was trusting. What a better time to do it than right now. So He said, start small, fast one meal. Fast something that, come on worship team, come on. Been joking about it because so many of our people are doing the Daniel fast. And the Daniel fast, if you're not familiar with it, it's where you just simply eat fruits and vegetables and you don't eat any meats, any sweets, any breads, and you drink water. So spending the time fasting is giving up something that's important to you, something that you're going to have to struggle through. Well, is it supposed to be a struggle? Yeah, it's supposed to be a struggle, or everybody would just do it. Like, I didn't start it off and go, you know what, God, I'm going to fast broccoli. seems like a good thing to fast. I eat it like once every 3 months. I'm gonna fast broccoli. And then I got to talking about in the last service about Popeye's biscuits. And I caught some flack after service was over with for talking about Popeye's biscuits while people are up here doing the Daniel fast. It's sacrificing something that I love right now so that I can reap the benefits of it when I need it. I'm storing up treasures in heaven by saying no to Krispy Kreme, to Crumble Cookie. See, y'all don't know about Crumble Cookie then. My daughter walks in the other night and she goes, I want you to look at Crumble's lineup right now. Look, the problem is that we started DoorDashing it months and months. You can DoorDash Crumble Cookie. I don't know if you knew that or not, but you can get it to the house really easy. She walks in and she goes, I want you to look at Crumble Cookie's lineup. Can we order some? And I'm like, no. Well, I'm not fasting Crumble Cookie. I know, but I pay for it. So we're not putting the devil's cookies on the counter right now in the kitchen. I'm already struggling. But I'm fasting right now and believing so that when I get to the place in my life that I look at it and God goes, and look, I know this is going to be funny in the way that I'm saying it, but I mean it to be serious. He's going to go, hey, remember when you took that time and you fasted those Popeye's biscuits? Now you're over here and you're at a place in your life where so-and-so can't rescue you, where the bank can't fix it, where the doctors don't have the answer. He said, but you've been storing up. You've been storing up some treasures in heaven. And the enemy hasn't touched these. So I'm going to give you back your investment, but I'm going to give it back the way it's supposed to be. I'm going to give you the interest on top of it. We're such right now people. We want it right now. I want things right now. I see something. I want it right now. And it took so much time for my wife and I. We lived that life where if we saw something we wanted, it didn't matter if we had the money. It didn't matter if we could afford it in the moment. We just go and get it. Just charge it. Just do whatever. We just want it. You didn't realize that you ended up paying $73,000 for something that cost $800 because you paid for it for 22 years. And God goes, just have some patience. If you'll store up and look, I'm not talking about that God just, everything I want, I just go, God, can I have this? And he goes, okay, I'll give it to you. That's not the case, but I'm talking about that God goes, listen, if you'll have some patience and you'll invest the way that I tell you to invest, if you'll store up your treasures in heaven, he said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to open the windows of heaven over the top of you, and I will pour out a blessing that you won't even be able to contain it. Because you took the time to do it the right way. I spent the time praying. I spent the time fasting. I spent the time giving when we didn't necessarily have the money to give. And God has honored it. The devil's going to fight you. This world's going to fight you. Your unsaved coworkers will fight you. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why you guys do that. I don't even understand that. It doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to make sense to you. So he told me to tell you to start small. That's for those of you that have no idea what this thing's even about. Fast one meal. Spend 10 minutes in prayer. Give. Well, Jeremy, I don't have the money to give 10% right now. Give something. The second thing, start small. The second thing is you got to be consistent. Consistently doing these things grows your faith stronger. Because I don't get into desperation prayer moments. I'm not telling you I don't have moments where I'm not desperate for God, but I live the life of it. I don't have the moments where I have to go right now, God, right now. If you don't do it right now, I need Him to do those things right now, but I'm at the place in my life where I just trust Him to do it. He's rescued me. He showed up when nobody else showed up. He gave when nobody else could give. He did what nobody else could do. He fixed what nobody else could fix. And now you just get to the point where you just simply start to trust Him. Because you realize this thing is real. But you got to be consistent. You know what consistency is? Consistency goes, instead of walking in here today and then walking out these doors and going, see you in a couple of months when I decide to come back to church. I'm not putting anybody down. Don't think I'm doing that. I'm not discouraging. I don't want to be that person. That's not what I'm talking about. But instead of finding every reason in the world not to come to church, well, it's cold outside. Put on a dang jacket. Well, you know what? It's just so pretty outside. We can't win down here. It's either too pretty to go to church because you want to go to the beach, or it's raining outside and you want to stay home. I'm not talking about anybody here. You guys wouldn't do that, of course, but somebody somewhere does it. Our churches would be full. I'm not talking about Church's Chicken. I could eat some Church's Chicken right now. It's good. You see where brain right now, just it's at a different place right now. What are you willing to sacrifice today so you're building an account that God shows up for in October? When hell breaks loose in June. When the sickness attacks the body in August. When the kids lose their mind tomorrow. What are you storing up? The world wants you to rely on what you physically have in your hands and what you can do. And God goes, that's not how heaven works. You give it to me. And if you'll give it to me, I'll do things with it that you could have never imagined. But you got to be willing to trust Him. Would you stand up with me? Prayer team, if you guys, those that are prayer team or pastoral staff, if we don't have all the prayer team here, would you guys come down? Listen, I'm asking you to do something for me. I know our inclination is try to be the first person to the buffet. Just 2 minutes. If you can give just 2 minutes. Nobody's running out of food right now. I'm not going to give an altar call right now. Ask anybody to come down in this moment. What I'm going to ask you to do, though, is when we close this service in about 2 minutes, if you know that you need God to do something in your life right now, you go, look, Jeremy, I'm not even saved right now. I don't even understand. There's a person down here right now that you can come down and talk to. and they're going to lead you to God. Well, Jeremy, I need God to do this. I need somebody to pray with about this. There's a person down here right now that you can come down here and talk to, and they will help you pray. We believe in the power of prayer, but we believe it also when we come together and we pray. Where 2 or 3 agree on anything, it shall be done. So instead of running out those doors, the enemy tells you when you come down out of those risers or you step from right here, just turn around and walk out of there and go get in your car. And God goes, no, walk down there. You have the opportunity to come down here, to let somebody lead you in prayer, to let somebody help you, to be able to share whatever it is that you're going through and dealing with right now. But you got to make the step. You got to step out on faith. And I'm believing that for your life right now, that somebody in this building is going to make a commitment that tomorrow that you're going to start, you're going to fast, you're going to do something, you're going to give a meal to God, you're going to test this thing out, and God's going to show up in ways that you never imagined possible because you stepped out in faith and you did something small and you did it consistently. And now all of a sudden, the windows of heaven have opened up over your life, and God said, I'm about to show you. Father, I thank you. Can you go ahead and start singing it for me? Father, I thank you. Father, I thank you. God, I'm believing for great things. I'm speaking it over every person in this building right now, God, that we would make the hard decisions now so that we could see the answer later, God. God, we choose right now with you. In Jesus' name. You guys are amazing. Have a great week. If you need prayer for anything, please make your way down here. Have a great rest of your day.